I hope you guys are keeping yourself safe during this COVID-19 quarantine and this virus. But keep yourself busy also. I've been trying to keep myself busy. I'm feeling better, so today I decided to do something. But I've been in quarantine for 28 days. I don't know about you guys. I'm just trying to play it safe until this virus is over. So I came up with a little daily project that I did to kind of keep me occupied. And for every day that I've been in quarantine, I've made a granny square. And as you can see, they're in all different colors. And I'm using yarns that I already have in stock. So I kept them in a box for a while, but then they started getting all curly and everything. So I decided to block them. And I didn't want to buy an expensive block, and I didn't want to go to the hardware store and put on a mask and buy some wood and all that good stuff. So I decided to use items that I already have at home. No doubt some of you, like me, are having your items shipped to your house rather than going to the store in some cases. So you end up with all of these boxes. So I'm going to show you how we can make this block board using the simple things that you might already have in your house. All that's coming up next on Crocheting and Crafting with Nyler. Okay, to get started, here are some of the things that you're going to need. Of course, some scissors. I've got some double-sided tape, some cardstock paper, an owl for poking holes. And this is one of my jewelry tools that I use to mold wire with. I'll show you how handy that comes in. And also, you're going to need some dowels. And of course, your leftover shipping box. Now, using an X-Acto knife, I'm going to break down the box. I actually was using this box to store my Afghans, so I had it taped, the lids taped down on the bottom. So now I'm just going to untape those lids, and then I can reuse this box for something else. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the box, and you notice how the boxes have these little pieces right here. You can just open them out flat. At least on these priority mail boxes they do. I'm going to open up the bottom of the box. Alright, so now the box opens up flat, kind of like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. And because the box already has these little grooves right here, I'm just going to cut this right down on the side. Just simple as that, nothing fancy. And then I flip it over and cut it on the other side. So you're going to cut out two of the pieces like this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the other one out as well. For starters, you got to figure out how wide you want your board to be. So I'm just going to kind of lay this out using just one corner for right now. And it looks like that's going to be pretty much a good size there. So I'm just going to take a pen and I'm going to mark it right here. And then I'm going to use my ruler and just kind of draw a line to even it up. And then I'm just going to cut it. Now we have two pieces, and we're going to line these up to make sure we get them the width that we want. So it looks like we can cut off some of this little excess here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other. So I'm going to end up cutting 4 pieces just like this. Okay, I have all of my pieces all cut out. And you notice that I cut them on the lid portion, which is fine. I just want to square this up and make sure this looks nice and even. So, and like I said, even though that was on the fold, I had a small box. But if you've got a bigger box, you don't have to worry about this. But I'm not worried about this part that folds, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the opposite of each other. So wherever there's a fold, I'm going to put one where there isn't, and that's going to stabilize it. So I'm not going to too much worry about that. But for starters, you're going to grab one of your box pieces, and you're going to put some glue all around the edges. And I like to put a little bit in the middle. And you're going to sandwich another one on top of it. And that hot glue is also going to make this nice and firm. And as you can see, you can't tell that there was a fold in there. Okay, so now you're going to keep doing this until you have all 4 of them layered. So now we got them all sandwiched on top of each other. Okay, now that they're all sandwiched together, and it's pretty sturdy. And the reason I did multiple layers because you want to have something for your dowels to go down inside of. And if you wanted to, you could put another layer to make it thicker so that you have enough thickness for the dowel to shoot down inside. So I think I'm going to add 1 more layer. So now, if you can leave it plain like this if you want. On the one that I did here, I don't know if you can see this, but I actually had some leftover contact paper and I just glued it on the outside just so you didn't see that box portion. But since I don't have any more of that, I'm going to just take a piece of cardstock and I'm just going to put it on the outside here. So let's just get that measured down. And I'm just going to cut that cardstock paper. Now because I want this portion to be smooth, I'm not going to use the hot glue. I'm going to use the double-sided tape instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just put the double-sided tape down on top of the my little box lids. So now we'll just take it off all the way around. And then we're just going to put our cardstock paper just on top of it. Oops. And once you get it on there, you're not going to be able to take it up. So make sure you got it where you want it. Alright, so that's pretty good. Okay, so because I didn't measure anything before, because we were basing this on my square like that, so I'm now going to measure it, and it looks like it's measured about 8.5 by 8 1/4. So it's a little oblong, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a dot, put a little mark. I'm coming up about 1/2 inch off on the edge. So at the 1/2 inch, I'm coming in 1 inch, 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Come in 1/2 inch and up 1/2 inch. So that's like 1/2 inch up and 1/2 inch down on both sides. Now, because I have, you want to base where you want your dowels to be, it's going to be based upon the holes that you have. So I have corner holes and then I have these other little holes. So I think I'm going to set mine, I'm going to lay it down, and I think I'm going to set them in about 2 inches. So I'm going to come in 2 inches from that mark. Make sure both of the marks are the same. That one's off a little bit. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to mark 2 inches in, and then 2 inches in here. 2 inches. So this will kind of tell you how many dowels you're going to use. And like I said, there's no pattern for this because it's all based upon your work. Everybody's work is different. Everybody crochets at a different looseness, and you crochet different different rows, number of rows. So now that we have that, this is where the awl comes in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So you're going to take the awl, and I'm just going to poke a hole in it and just twist it down. I'm doing that for all the holes, just poking them down. And I'm going through all thickness as far down as I can get. Okay, now once all the holes are done, now this is where my handy dandy, this is like a wire molder. I mold wire with it for jewelry making. So because it's graduated, as you can see, the tips of it is thin and then it gets wider. But it's doubled, so it'll get even wider because you have 2 of these. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it down in the hole, and I'm going to turn it just like that. So by doing that, it makes my hole bigger. So I'm going to do that all the way around for all of the holes. If you don't have a tool like this, you can just take your scissors that has a sharp point. See? And you can stick it inside and turn it just like that too. And this will help get your holes bigger. So I think I got my holes ready. So now I'm just going to insert my dowels inside of my holes. And like I said, it's just temporary. I mean, these things, they hold up, but once you get the yarn on there, they're going to pretty much stay in place. And then, like I said, you can also tap them down with the hammer. And now that all the dowels are in, your block is ready. Now they're leaning, the dowels are leaning all directions, but that's fine, because once you put the Afghan squares on there, it's gonna straighten out. Now I know you're wondering, why did I use them so long? Like I said, I'm in quarantine and I've been making a square for every day I've been in quarantine, so you can see how quickly they fill up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these purple ones, since that's the last color that I've worked on. And see, I have all these different colors. I have to show you how I made those too, by the way. So you just simply, just to put them on, you just simply grab your Afghan square. I start with the corners first, so I put all the corners on. Okay, and then I turn it and put the other corners on. Once the corners are on, then I'll come in and put the next little pole on right there. Turn it and do the same thing on both sides. And you see how it's bringing those poles in line, because they now have something to work with. And then same thing on the other side. Put the other two. I searched all over the internet for anybody that was making these, and everybody was making them with wood. Nobody did one with cardboard, so I figured I'd show you guys how easy it is. And then just slide it down. As simple as that. And what this does, it blocks it and keeps it in line. And then if you wanted to, you could use a steam iron to steam them flat. But I'm just using mine like this. I'm not really blocking them per se, but I just want to keep them all together. So we repeat the process for however many Afghans that you have, little squares rather, the granny squares. Just like I said, start with the corners first, because it makes it so much easier to put them on once you've got the corners on. And then you just rotate and continue working them all the way around until you have completed. And you can put multiples on at the same time. You can even put 2 or more on at the same time. And what I like to do is, if I've got multiples, I'll leave that one there and then go ahead and put this one on top. And then I'll press them down both at the same time. And that'll make it a little bit easier to slide them down. And it'll save some time. So just go ahead and put these on like this. Very simple. This is the coolest little thing for blocking your... And normally I don't use a blocking tool or blocking block, because I just normally crochet my Afghan squares and then I normally put them together. But this is the first time I'm actually making a bunch of squares and not putting them together at the same time. So there you have it. So I hope this tip has been helpful on how to make your own block board for crochet projects using simple things you have at home. So I hope you try it. Happy crocheting. Happy crafting.